Hey guys, welcome back to the series. In this video, we're going to see how we can create complex wavetables using only one waveform. Now, suppose I choose this waveform to have sync window warping. Okay, this walla warping. Now, if I want to render this warp, I can actually go to the menu and select render oscillator A warp. Let me render the warp and then I will set the warp to off. If I move my wavetable position, I can see that what my warp was doing earlier, now my wavetable position is doing. Why? Because the warp that was happening has been rendered in such a format that now it has become a wavetable as a whole. It's crazy how this warp was only accessible to me over here, and now my wavetable position has become this warp. Now I can use this warp and stack it with another warp. Suppose I choose mirror. I can stack warps with more warps. Isn't this crazy? This will give me so many unique sounds. Let me take the octave down. That's amazing. Okay, so what if I choose FM from B? Now if I take this, I turn on B, and since we've learnt about FM, I want this warp mode. Now this warp mode has been rendered into the wavetable, right? So we have one warp mode here. The second warp mode over here in FM, let's add it over here. My god, the sounds are crazy. This is a lot of fun. Now what if I want to render this? Okay, let me say render. So now we have a prompt, an error which says the mode is set to FM type. You should use resample feature. Okay, so let's resample this to oscillator B. Now we've resampled it. Let's move the wavetable position. There's not much happening I can see. Let me turn this level down and bring this level up. I don't have a lot happening because what has happened is now when you say resample, resample will record what is going to play over here. Now in this case, I want this movement, right? Let me get this up. Yeah. Now if I want this movement, I need to bring this back to basic shapes. It was on a saw wave. Yeah, I want this movement. So to get this movement in the resample mode, I need to first make sure that the movement is happening. So I'll set an LFO which is increasing in time and set it to modulate this and set it to a bar. Now if I play, the movement is happening on its own. So now if I say resample to oscillator B, I can see that the movement is taking place and the wavetable is very complex and unique. Now if I set this over here, which is the same movement I gave this, sorry, not on the level, on the wavetable position, which is the same movement I've given this, and increase the level here and keep the level here 0, the sound will be the same, exact same. This is 2 octaves below. Crazy. So for you to actually render an FM, or should I say resample an FM to another oscillator, you have to make sure that in the resampling mode, before you resample, your LFO has been put on the FM, because if the FM knob is not moving, then wherever the FM knob is at that certain point of time, the resampling will happen just like that, and all the waves in this wavetable, the resampled wavetable, will be the same, which is why we weren't getting movement earlier. Also be careful that if you have a filter on, okay, and you resample, suppose I turn this off and I turn this on again. Now if I play, I see this oscillator is, I'll switch this off. If I switch it off, there is no FM happening. Okay, so there is a filter applied. Now if I say resample in this situation, you can see, let me increase the value of this, switch off the filter, switch this off, play this solo. It has been resampled with the filter, because resampling considers effects, filters, sub noise, everything. Whatever sound that is coming is going to be resampled and turned into a wavetable. Now if we resample to B, it's going to be a wavetable in B, and if we resample to A, it's going to be A. Now you can resample it to A and B both, but use this only in the case where you want to have identical signals in both and you want to pan them left and right so that you have a stereo image. If you don't want to pan them and you don't have any intention of doing this, I suggest sticking to resampling to only one of the oscillators. Okay, so we in this video learnt that if we have a certain warp mode, suppose if we have a sync warp mode, let me change the wavetable to something. Yeah, if we have a sync warp mode, yeah, this movement, if I want to render this movement as the wavetable, I can go to render oscillator B warp. So the warp will get rendered as a wavetable. Render oscillator B warp. Yeah, so the warp is rendered as a wavetable. Now even if I switch the warp off, I have a wavetable which is rendered as a warp. Okay, so we have actually started from one basic saw wave, very basic saw wave. We added some kind of warping to it. We said render my warp. So now we can turn the warp off, but we still have this warping, because the warp that was doing making the changes in the waveform has now been rendered into a wavetable. And now if I want to render this wavetable or whatever movement I want to do, suppose I want to bring in some FM, I want to move it around, and if I want to resample this into B, I can resample into oscillator B. So what has happened is, I can make crazy sounds like this. Okay, so in this video we learned how to make complicated wavetables using only one waveform.